Capcom has a diverse library of games and franchises. These brilliant games go all the way back to the days of Strider and Mega Man. These titles unfortunately could not last and are absent from present-day Capcom as the company is shifting and sticking to what makes them money. An understandable tactic, but one that really sucks for fans of these great games. These titles not only played great, but had pretty good characters, from the game's main hero to the background characters and the villains. Some villains hit harder and were better accepted by others, and some kind of just fell flat. I feel just as the hero character is important, so is the villain. The antagonist makes for great story and gives you a reason to want to confront and defeat them, and as well as beat the game. In this video, we will look at the many villains of Capcom and see which one is the most iconic. Now, there's a ton of Capcom games, so I'm not going to talk about every single one of them. Just mainly stick to the bigger games from Capcom and the ones people tend to know about more. So sorry friends, if you're a huge Vulgus fan from Power Stone, you won't be seeing him here. So first and foremost, without further ado, let's talk about Street Fighter's big bad M. Bison. M. Bison is the main antagonist of the Street Fighter universe. This evil mad dictator is responsible for a number of crimes in getting the Street Fighters to fight him. His cocky grin and double chin is synonymous with the character, and his evil knows no bounds. Bison is one of the most iconic villains in not just Capcom, but video game history. He has the look and feel of a truly evil person, and you can't help but want to punch him in the face. A really good villain, but also a simple one as well. Next up, we have Dr. Wily from the Mega Man series. Dr. Wily is a mad scientist that is always in the way of Mega Man and Dr. Light. Dr. Wily has a brilliant mind and can create robots just like his counterpart Dr. Light. But instead of using the robots for good, Dr. Wily uses them to advance his twisted and evil ways. Much like M. Bison, the Doctor has an unforgettable face. It makes you want to punch him. He also has an annoying laugh that just speaks bad man from the 1970s or something. Dr. Wily wasn't bad, but wasn't really good either. He was just there and honestly served his purpose. Be that annoying villain that you want to stop and send to jail. His look is very plain, as well with a huge chin and regular scientist clothes. Not the best, but again, he did the job. The next villain almost didn't make this list, but I'll still include him anyways, and that's Pyron from Darkstalker games. Pyron is an alien that is obsessed with combat and proving he's the best. After conquering his world and others, he sets his sights on Earth in an attempt to absorb the planet as well. He gets confronted by the Night Warriors like Morgan and Dimitri and eventually falls. Much like M. Bison and Dr. Wily, he has a cheesy grin that makes you want to hit him, but not an annoying laugh, so thank goodness for that. I'll admit, Pyron is one of the weaker villains in my opinion, as his reason for fighting and motivation seem rather flat. You're this super powerful solar alien that can swallow planets, and yet you choose not to swallow Earth right away and instead let the fighters on that planet beat you. Not to mention his design is really, and I mean really simple. Just a body of energy with nothing creative, although he does have some pretty cool moves. Next up we have Dr. Albert Wesker from the Resident Evil series. Wesker was an elite perfectionist individual of absolute coldness, always wearing deep black sunglasses. As a senior researcher linked to the T-Virus project as early as 1978, he bore witness to and at times shaped Umbrella's work. Wesker ultimately chose to betray Umbrella and work with other groups to steal its research data, benefiting from a mutation brought on by a prototype virus that gave him superhuman powers. This made him, in his self-belief and assertion, that he was chosen to achieve the ultimate goal of causing the mass extinction of humanity in favor of evolution. Now, Wesker was not only a cold-blooded killer, but also ruthless in his look. Always wearing some cool black shades and a nice black outfit, Wesker exuded coolness and arrogance. The man was a bastard, but boy did he look the part of a cool one. Wesker is high on my list of villains and is definitely one of the more memorable ones to show up, and one of the most coolest and coldest ones. Now, last on my list is none other than Virgil from the Devil May Cry series. I know, technically Mundus is the real big bad villain, but hey, Virgil is cooler and shows up quite a bit to defeat the main protagonist Dante. Virgil, as everyone knows, is the twin brother of Dante from Devil May Cry. He looks just like Dante as he's his twin, but couldn't be more different from him. Dante is brash, exciting, fun, and a party animal, while Virgil is the opposite, cold, calculating, and emotionless. He wants one thing and one thing only, and that's power. He wants to become a full demon so that he can have power. Simple and straight to the point, which I quite like. He also looks really cool with his blue jacket and awesome blade Yamato. Virgil is really high on my list of villains and someone I really like as a character. He's just so cool and it's almost impossible not to like him. Now, those are the main villains and games I wanted to talk about, but of course there are some honorable mentions. We have Bill Stein from Star Gladiator. He's a decent villain. So is Raizo and Hayato from Rival Schools. There is Belger from the Final Fight series, and as well as Goldibus from Techromancer. Tons and tons of villains, and because those games didn't quite do as well or quite as known as the ones I mentioned earlier, I decided not to really talk about those villains, even though I'm pretty sure if you are a Capcom fan like myself, you would also know of these villains too. Now then, with that being said, who do I think is the best and most iconic villain? Well, it all depends on the question, really. Deep down, Virgil is my favorite villain and is definitely the cooler one for me. Everything about him you like, and is a character you hate to see go. Wesker is also up there for me as well, and is definitely the most intimidating villain for me. His icy demeanor makes him really hard to read, which is the most scary thing. But if you're gonna say the most iconic, as I posed the question earlier, then I would have to pick M. Bison. Now, Bison has major flaws for me as a character though. I honestly find him pretty boring and too cookie cutter in regards to what makes a villain, but I think it's also because of those traits it's what makes him so iconic. As a villain, he is as bad as they come, not to mention he's been around for so long. It's almost hard to imagine a Street Fighter game without the character. Capcom knows this, which is why they keep using him as the main villain in almost every Street Fighter game. Crazy powerful? Check. Cold ruthless heart? Check. Evil annoying laugh and grin? Check. Will do anything for power and strength? Check. No matter how you slice it, this man looks and plays the part to perfection. That's why he's been around for so long and why they can't move on from him. It also doesn't hurt that Street Fighter is one of the company's more popular games and has lasted the test of time, unlike a Grandmaster Mayu from Strider. You want your villain to induce fear and anger, and Bison does a decent job of doing both, even if Wesker is scarier. Having a good villain is just as important as having a good hero. The villain carries the series forward and gives you something to strive for. As stated before, Virgil is my favorite from this list, but Bison is probably the most iconic and most well known. Let me know what you guys think and who your favorite villain is. It could be from my list or a game that I did not mention. I'm always curious to what you guys think and definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comment sections down below. And as always, thank you for watching, and please take care of yourself, guys. Now that I think about it, I probably should have mentioned Sigma. I think he's a much better villain than Dr. Wily and someone I'd seem to respect more. Oh well, forgot him. Carry on.